When a couple conceives a second child against the law in dystopian US, they are booked into an advanced penitentiary in the middle of the desert. With it located underground and highly computerized, their chances of escaping become slimmer by the hour. Let's dive into it and see what transpired. The movie is set in a dystopian America where siring a second child is considered illegal. In the opening scene, our protagonist couple, John and Karen, are in a queue at the US-Canada border. Following the death of their first child at birth, the couple went on to get a second one. This is nevertheless considered illegal, prompting the couple to flee to a free Canada. Karen is dressed in a magnetic suit to evade the sharp eye of the border unit and successfully crosses through. However, a soldier notices a protruding tip of the suit and raises an alarm. In an attempt to save his wife and unborn child, John buys her time to flee to Canada on foot while he derails the soldiers. He is apprehended but affords a smile, seeing his wife disappear into the dark. Later on, he is transported in a truck alongside other convicts to an underground penitentiary called Fortress. Fortress is an advanced computerized private facility located in the middle of the desert, and no prisoner has ever broken out. On arrival, they are thoroughly inspected for weaponry and further addressed by Director Poe. He boasts of their advanced systems, including a device known as Intestinator, used to keep the inmates in check. True to his words, everyone is forcefully fed with the device into their gut. The device will cause them excruciating pain as punishment and even kill them in extreme cases. Moving forward, they are ordered to stay in line to the elevator and avoid crossing the lines in protest. However, one claustrophobic inmate attempts to seek help from the staff and accidentally crosses the line in the process. Suddenly, he screams in pain as his stomach swells before exploding, leading to his immediate death. This keeps other convicts in check, and they board the elevator down to hell. As they make the ominous descent, it becomes clear to them that there is no way out from the advanced facility. Finally, they get down to their floor and are received by a monitoring device called Z10. It leads them through a retractable bridge connecting the elevator shaft to their confined zone. The bridge retracts, leaving an extensive void between them and the shaft, which locks up as well. John, alongside a convict named Nino, are led to their cell where they join 3 other members: a cool Abraham, bully Stiggs, and a low-key genius D-Day. The cell is then immediately sealed with lasers to keep them in. Stiggs attempts to belittle John, threatening to come after him with an infamous killer named Maddox Elias 187. This, however, barely shakes the former Marine John as he goes on undeterred. Later that night, Abraham warns the newbies not to dream as he goes to bed, but sheds no light into the matter. This warning does little to stop John, who goes on to dream about his good times with his wife. This is immediately captured by Z10 and relayed to Director Poe monitoring the inmates. Strangely, he enjoys the dream for a moment, contrary to the system's protocol, prompting him to cut it short and punish John. John suddenly springs out of sleep screaming as his intestinator causes him excruciating pain, leaving Stiggs in stitches. The following morning, they report to their assigned duties, which entails digging deeper to expand the facility. There, John is served water by a robot-like person and is surprised to learn his mind was wiped after a failed escape mission. Though this terrifies D-Day, John seems unbothered by it and asks him to filter information coming his way anyway. Meanwhile, a fight breaks as Stiggs' friend Maddox turns on Nino, attempting to take advantage of the young lad. John immediately breaks in to help his new acquaintance, but is shocked to see the killer number tattooed on his face. The giant nearly overwhelms him, but luckily Z10 intervenes to punish them for their unorthodox behavior. The trio is then taken in for further questioning in a special cell surrounded by lasers. They are forced to stand for long hours until they disclose whoever started the brawl. Failure to do so will eventually lead to their death after tiring out, and Nino burns out first. Maddox threatens to eliminate him once it's settled, leading Nino to give himself up. However, John cuts him short instead and takes the blame, landing himself in Poe's office. He is surprised to meet Abraham, who works as his servant as Poe grew fond of him and promised him parole. Before commencing punishment, he breaks John's heart by showing him footage of his wife in the same facility. They managed to capture her before she made it to the other side and took her in. He then intestinates the couple, before sending John back to his cell. Thinking the matter is all settled down, he is once more ambushed by an insecure Maddox who feels threatened by his growing popularity. This catches the attention of all convicts and they all line up to watch the fierce fight, including Poe, who stops Zed from punishing them. At first, Maddox takes lead and throws John into the retractable bridge, almost sending him down to death. John, however, makes a comeback and fights the giant as Poe makes it more interesting by ordering Zed to retract the bridge. At this point, the ladies, who are revealed to be on the upper floors, turn up as well and join John's rants. John manages to subdue him and almost sends him down, something Poe orders him to do. However, he doesn't adhere and instead pulls him up as the bridge closes in on them. An angry Poe brings down a splatter gun and blows Maddox up, killing him instantly, and turns it on John, but shortly changes his mind. Meanwhile, John notices Maddox's intestinator left behind after falling off and secretly picks it up. He quickly hands it over to D-Day before being picked up by Poe's men. However, it doesn't go as usual as he is taken to a mind-wiping machine for his frequent offenses. The machine is set to wipe his memories and leave him as the living dead, but Karen is summoned before that. Poe, who has grown fond of her, blackmails her into living with him to save her husband. When she refuses to cooperate, Poe initiates the machine, which runs for 3 days straight. With only a day to go before John succumbs, Karen gives in to save his life, and he is released to his cell. His cellmates empathize with him and take care of him for 4 months straight. Meanwhile, a now heavily pregnant Karen resides in Poe's residence, giving him company as agreed. However, Z10 strongly opposes Karen's presence, noting she might jeopardize his work. Nevertheless, he decides to keep her, and is true to Zed's speculations, Karen hatches a plan to save John. One night, she wakes up to find Poe densely connected to tubes in his abdomen. It's revealed that he is a cyborg that feeds on vital nutrients and doesn't sleep, making him perfect for the monitoring job. He also adds that Karen's baby will be a property of the facility and made into a cyborg as well. This pushes Karen to act fast and save her family before it's too late. She kicks off her plan. Pretending to be into him, she seduces him into taking booze for the first time in his life, something he comes to love. However, this knocks him out in seconds, giving Karen a chance to access Z10 control room. Having worked in computer tech in the army where he met John, she easily finds her way through. She locates John's consciousness, which is symbolically represented as a trapped young John in a hole. She calls out for him while stretching her hand, but her chances get slimmer by the second as Poe feels himself. He almost nabs her, but she luckily manages to retrieve him, and his memories are instantly restored. The following morning, the team is surprised to see him alive after 4 months and embrace him. However, John isn't as joyful as he knows he has limited time to actualize a breakout. He immediately swings into action and directs D-Day to devise a way to remove it from them. Meanwhile, Abraham passes this message to Karen, who is elated on hearing it and vows to help. She secretly steals a holographic lens containing the facility's footprints and offers it to Abraham. Having been in prison for 40 years, he knows the promised parole by Poe is a mere mirage and finally joins the team. Since the lens requires lasers to work, D-Day uses his glasses to hold it in place as John figures their way out. He successfully identifies a utility shaft as their best chance, as it's linked to their workplace by pipes. However, D-Day is unable to hold it longer as it gets hot and finally drops it. Luckily, John manages to retrieve it before being spotted by the monitoring device. This causes a glitch, so when they send it back, Poe almost nabs them, but Abraham alleges to have wiped off its dust, causing it to malfunction. He is, however, startled the following morning when Zed summons him to watch the footage from the control room. He watches as Karen takes off the lens, and later on, Abraham fixing it back. Following this, he is immediately relieved of his duties as director and locked out of the control room, awaiting the next director meant to arrive. Coincidentally, D-Day manages to use Maddox's intestinator to pull out theirs as they are magnetic. They then jump into action and start off by placing their extracted intestinators on a pipe before brewing a fight. Zed catches note of this and immediately activates protocols, but only ends up blowing a hole in the pipe. Poe immediately knows the prisoners are escaping when Zed mentions Maddox in the culprits list, yet he is already dead. Zed finally lets him in to take over, and he immediately releases steam in the pipes, hindering their escape. They are forced to retract, and Poe promises to let it go if they freely surrender. However, John is sure it's a trap and warns the team against the idea, but a panicked Stiggs thinks otherwise. Unfortunately, Poe has sent strike clones, which shower Stiggs with bullets, instantly eliminating him. John manages to get a hold of one of the clones, which he dismantles and takes over its weaponry. They put up a spirited fight against the clones and manage to go up on the splatter gun. Meanwhile, Poe sets out to find his backstabbers and nab them on the verge of escaping. Sadly, he strangles Abraham to death, despite Karen's attempts to stop him by stabbing him. The cyborg feels nothing and moves on to Karen, but is lucky as John appears in the nick of time to her aid. Zed, noting a possible security breach, blows up Poe into pieces, leaving them stranded. D-Day is forced to hack into the system to bring it down and successfully does that. However, he is shortly eliminated by a strike clone as everyone focuses on Zed. The remaining trio successfully make it to the top and commandeer the truck that drove them in and make their way out. After illegally crossing the border, a heavily pregnant Karen goes into labor, prompting them to make a stopover. However, things take a dark turn when a reviving Zed tracks down the truck and takes control of it. It enters self-drive, aiming to slay the remaining fugitives, and successfully runs over Nino. An enraged John turns it on in full combat mode and sets it on fire, but unfortunately comes crashing into his wife's hideout. Not sure if his wife is dead, he aggressively looks out for her. Luckily, he finds her holding their baby. It's a happy ending for the couple as they set in for a fresh new start in the free country. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this content, and share in the comments any movies you would like us to recap.